So as the host today, I'm very privileged to be hosting a panel of distinguished speakers here on the topic on security and privacy for a sustainable and inclusive Web3. We will be covering a wide aspect of security and privacy of Web3. So perhaps maybe I will start my first question, directing this question to Herbert. Yeah. So we all know that security is an essential component in any applications. Without security, there will be no compliance and definitely no adoption. So I just wonder, how important it is for us to decentralize security and privacy solutions? Should we do that, and can we do that?
Oh, wow. Thank you, Siwan, and thank you for the conference, for having us. It's an honor to be here. My name is Herbert. I'm the Asia General Manager for Decentralising Foundation. We are the primary developer behind ICP, Internet Computer Protocol. Wow, so that was a very loaded question. But let me get the most important thing out of the way. So I've been working closely with Wendy's Beosing team, trying to get some partnership set up so that as a foundation, as we are trying to incubate developers in the ICP ecosystem, we're trying to provide the best security audit services for all the emerging startups from the ICP ecosystem. We are counting on Wendy's Beosing team to be our reliable partner. So let me get the most important thing out of it. But back to the question. Of course, yes. We think the answer will be yes, and it's the most important question of all, because we believe in Definitive Foundation and ICP. We believe the ultimate form of decentralization is the only way to achieve security. So I'll just talk about four things. One is for ICP, I believe we are the only platform in the internet, not even just crypto, in the entire internet space, that we can do three things in one. We can do distributed ledger, smart contract as what everybody else can do, but we can also provide computation power. We can also provide data storage. So our motto is 100% on-chain. Our goal is to move the majority of mankind's web services to blockchain, because we believe that's the only way as a developer. Not only you want to deploy your smart contract on the mainnet, obviously, but you also need to consider where do you host the front end, where do you store the data. But we all know that if you run your instance, your website, your SaaS on the centralized cloud computing phone, it's fairly easy to turn it down. Right, so that's something that is, I just want to call out the elephant in the room, that is not sustainable. That introduces tremendous amount of centralized deplatform risk that not too many people in the industry want to talk about, because it's very difficult to resolve. So, and then number two is data storage. Obviously, if the data does not reside on a decentralized platform, I mean, there's a risk. So that's number one, to move 100% of your front end and back end to a blockchain. Number two, I just want to share something that a major feature that we released a couple of months ago. Obviously, Oracle is important to DeFi, to crypto and all that. We need to, because when Ethereum was created, and even today, the Solidity smart contract cannot fetch data from Web 2. That is obviously a very major obstacle if as an industry, we want to achieve mass adoption. So with the ICP, what you can do is basically the smart contract, we call it canister. It's a live version of a Docker, if you may. With the canister smart contract, you will be able to fetch data directly from any Web 2 websites, such as what is the Bitcoin price from Coinbase today. You can do that directly from our smart contract. And the way we do that is not to rely on a centralized Oracle third-party provider, because we think it's expensive, and also it's very centralized, right? There's a human factor involved. So we use subnet to substitute that. So basically we are replacing every element of a traditional web services that involve human touch by what we call a subnet. That's our way to form consensus and to achieve, to use cryptography to achieve security. So that's, we call this feature HTTP outcalls. It's something that's worth trying. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a tremendous feature for the, and convenience for the developers. And number three is internet identity. I mean, we talk about privacy today. This is essential. You know, how do we protect our users, Web 2 or Web 3 or Web 1, so identity right now? That is, again, extremely difficult problem to overcome in this industry because it's transparent. Once you have your wallet address, basically any searcher running an MEV service, they can find out what you do, you know, do all kinds of fancy trading, sandwich and all that to basically hijack your trade. That is a reality of Ethereum right now, especially after the merge. It has become even I think the situation has become worsened. It has become more centralized. Basically, the Ethereum system becomes more vulnerable to the searchers running now everyone is running quantitative data algorithm to find to basically find arbitrary opportunities on Ethereum, right? So basically, how do we protect the user's privacy? So with internet identity, that is our answer for a digital sort of ID system. We create two layers. One layer that is to yourself, that is called an internet anchor. And the other layer is you will create a principal ID in every service that you're gonna use from ICP. And the beauty of that is even if these 10 services, even if they collude, they won't be able to tell who you are. Basically, this is an account abstraction. And we've been having that, you know, since 2 years ago. That's already available feature. To us, that is a very good way of separating real user identity without compromising the convenience of using all these Web3 and the crypto services. And last but not the least, this is something coming soon. I'm really excited to share with, at the risk of talking too long, but we do not have true end-to-end encryption right now, period, in general, anywhere. But with VECI, which is, the full name is called a verifiable encryption threshold key, we call it VECI. So VECI is coming in ICP. We just released an MVP a few months ago, a few weeks ago. It's coming in the next 6 months. What it does, what we're trying to achieve is true end-to-end encryption. Because what it does is, we don't need a key pair anymore. That's been the motto for the industry for the last, 10 years? Not your key, not your coin, et cetera, et cetera. That has become dated. We're going with IBE, it's called identity-based encryption. But the traditional IBE has flaws. The key generator that would know all the decryption keys. That is not good. So we use a threshold ECDSA. The process works like we have the four of us. We are collectively we create this shared secret to generate this master key for the user, and then the user will be able to reconstruct this master key. And in this entire process, this master key is never revealed to anyone, not even the four of us. Even though we are the members generating this master key, not even the four of us is aware that we're creating this key. But the key is there. So this is something extremely exciting. It will probably unlock a lot of unprecedented scenarios we have never seen in the history of internet, such as Desmond's wishes. If you want to say I want to send an email to my grandson 100 years from now. This email needs to be sent out at this exact date at this exact time with the exact content. Obviously, that is not possible with conventional internet technology. With VECIs on ICP, that is going to turn into a reality. So I think this is it's a pretty disruptive technology that we're working on from Decentralising Foundation. But there are more to come. But this is just a few that I'm really excited to share with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Herbert. So I think the answer is yes, we can do that.
Yes.
And we should be doing that because I think the underlying key is decentralization is security.
Yes.
Right, thank you very much. So but there's one interesting thing that you mentioned just now about Ethereum after the merge becomes more centralized. I think we can have another panel discussion on that. Okay, so my second question will be directed to Thomas. Okay, I think Herbert also mentioned a bit on decentralized identity. And we know that in conventional, I mean, in real life, we have identity, we need identity. And definitely in Web3, we also will need to have a Web3 identity, right? But it would be a little bit funny to have a centralized identity management system or a digital asset management system on a Web3 application. So I wonder what you think about the possibility of decentralized identity management or decentralized digital asset management. Do we still really need a third-party custody with such solutions?
Thank you. Thank you. Question. It's a good one because it didn't just touch on the Web3, but also the Web2, and I could see that there's really a lot of problems when we connect the Web2 to Web3. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Thomas Kong, the CISO and the Compliance Risk Officer at Rocket Digital. We are the Singapore startup funded by a Thai bank called CM Commercial Bank, venture arm SCB 10X. We provide third-party custodian service to serve financial service and other enterprise to protect their private keys and their digital asset inside the wallets. So that's the basic business model for us. And I think one of the reasons why we start this project is because we do see that there's a lot of trust issue when it comes to the connection between Web 2 and Web 3. Going back to the conversation about like whether we can have digital identity, right? Let me just take a few steps back and we try to learn from what has like happened in the past, right? Previously, there was a security incident related to OpenSea, I think back to 2 years ago. That causes quite a significant issue because the user got phished. And then the hacker sent some new smart contracts to those retailers or users saying that OpenSea is going to migrate to a new smart contract. Please use your private key to sign this. Obviously, a lot of people didn't have that knowledge and skill set to understand whether this email, the phishing email is right or wrong, right? Eventually, they just sign it. So obviously, what happened is that they transfer their NFT to the hacker. I think this comes to the key question when we're dealing with Web 2 and Web 3. Actually, for me, right, I'm a propeller of decentralization. I truly believe that decentralization should be our future. But there will be a lot of concerns about the trust issue, especially we did see that, especially in the NFT environment, right? Even though you put the same thing into two different blockchains, both of them are the truth. Because it's verified by your private keys. But which one is the real one? Which one is the original NFT? No one can tell. From the decentralized world, no one can tell. Because from the genesis of the transaction, you know that this is real. But this is not the truth. I heard from other conversation with other regulators and also the government agency. Actually, Singapore is like try to like pioneer the way of using blockchain to hold digital identities. And all your academic results, certifications, or even driving license, they're trying that. And if I try to give you an example, right? If you take a screenshot of your driving license and put it in blockchain, is it true? It's been signed by you, right? People can verify it. This screenshot is actually from you. But does it mean that that driving license is the truth? So eventually, if you want to bridge Web 2 to Web 3, right, there's some sort of trust issue that we have to deal with. And that's the reason why we gave that power to the government to do that, because we collectively, we together, we trust the government to do that. Same thing applies to like custodian services, third party, as a trustee. You give the power to them because you trust them. Of course, there will be a lot of legal arrangements so that you can trust them. But in a sense that when they do this for you as a fiduciary, right, they have the obligation to do it. That means you can trust. So I could see that there's a lot of gap here whenever we talk about digital identity, whenever we put our existing real identity to the Web3. Who's gonna be the one to submit that information to the blockchain and sign it? Can we trust the signature? Even though the signature is verified by all the parties in the decentralized world, it doesn't mean that it's the truth. So it's the problem between the truth, whether it's true, or whether it is the truth. So eventually, right, we need some sort of decentralized among centralized, saying that we are not going to put everything into like, okay, let's just have finance to do everything for you. Not like that. But because we have a decentralized mindset, we segregate our roles and responsibilities. Someone's doing the liquidity provider, someone is doing the custodian. Because we have the check and balance, we create a trust. So in that sense, right, I do think that digital identity definitely will be the direction. I think sooner or later, right, or maybe like 5 or 10 years, I hope will be sooner, that same path will be able to connect to blockchain and retrieve all the information, or potentially we can use an ICP to collect all the digital identity. We still need to deal with the trust issue between Web 2 and Web 3. So at the same time, we go back to see all the regulations from, or the regulatory movement in the Asian countries. For example, let's just put some of the markets that we are operating. In Hong Kong, they require the exchange platform to have their own subsidiary to be the custody. In Thailand, they mandate every licensee to use third-party custodian. In Singapore, there's no mandatory requirement, but they encourage licensee to use third-party custodian. That means different regulators may have different expectations on whether they should use a third party or not. There's no definite answer. Eventually, it's all about risk management. Especially we want to deal with fraud. We want to deal with financial crime. Eventually, it's about risk management, how we deal with risk management, never put everything in this one single basket, never trust decentralization, and never trust centralization as well. So maybe a hybrid model of a digital identity will be a future that we can foresee.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I think it is a very, very interesting talk about the issue of trust, right? What does the term trust really mean in security? So I think Wendy will be perfect, will also be able to follow up on something similar, because when we talk about traditional finance, we have KYC. It's pretty much very well established, right? But in the Web3 world, how do we manage counterparty risk? Right, and when we talk about trust, the issue of trust, smart contract is most commonly being called as the thing that reduces the cost of trust on blockchain. So there are two questions for you, Wendy. So the second question is on smart contract. Okay. So smart contract security, when we say we have to audit a smart contract to ensure that it is free of security loophole. But as a layman or as a startup founder, how do I know whether the audit itself can be trusted?
Thank you, Dr. Lo. And I'm Wendy from Bilson. Bilson is a security company who is help the blockchain ecosystem to be more secure. Actually, we provided different kind of product. One product is smart contract auditing. we already audited more than 3,000 projects on chain. You know, all this kind of smart contract is based on the blockchain, and they will actually operate automatically. So if there's some uncertainty, or maybe there's some problem for the smart contract itself, it will be a huge potential risk for the project holder, such as we discussed about the DeFi recently. How is the decentralized finance can operate properly to help the people to do investment? Actually, if the smart contract itself got some risk, how can you trust the DeFi itself? So it's very, how to say, a serious problem for the smart contract auditing. Actually, I think Herbert mentioned about our potential strategic partnership, which we will help Definity to secure their project based on their infra. So for our team, we already operate more than 5 years. We have more than 40 PhD in our companies. And I think Dr. Law asked about how you can trust smart contract auditors, right? I think it's from different perspectives. First is the reputation. Whether this company is have a good reputation, have some track record. And the second is a professional. Do you have the professional team can help you to research in very advanced technology and research in different protocol on chain, on the smart contract. And third, I think is quite important is actually how the company can cooperate with different ecosystem partners, because you know this technology and all the players are quite new, and actually we have to learn from each other, get support from each other to make it more secure. And the second question is about the regulation. In traditional finance, because actually I was in a fintech field almost 20 years, and I also worked in the mobile payment, the financial technology, to apply the license from MAS, from Hong Kong MA, a lot of different places. Actually, traditional finance and payment, or maybe fintech, is highly regulated in different countries, which means that if you would like to operate properly, firstly, you have to apply the license, then operate under all these kind of license terms. So one important thing is KYC, know your customer. You have to identify who is your customer, how you can serve your customer in proper way. But in Web3, I think Web3 and blockchain, they have actually common sense is decentralized. No one can regulate. Secondly, it's based on the consensus. It's not based on the framework of any regulations. So how you can make sure your transaction is not under high risk. Actually, our building, we have one product, the name is KYT, Know Your Transaction. We will use this product to help you to identify your counterparty's risk. Because on the blockchain, actually the on-chain transaction is actually between an address with another address. You don't know who they are. Even you got some Bitcoins or maybe USDT from third party, you don't know whether the USDT is a clean one or maybe some not so sure one, right? Maybe it's used by some high-risk criminals. You never know about it. So actually, before you do any transaction, you can use our product to actually check your counterparty's risk. We also have a new platform named is Eagle Eye, built-in Eagle Eye. We will help you to monitor all this kind of the on-chain address risk and your transaction risk. I think today you can actually check it and to try to use it. You can just very easily to actually key in the belsoneagleeye.com to try to use our platform. And by the way, I mentioned we already audited for more than 3,000 of the smart contracts. And all the auditing reports, you also can find it in our Bilson website. And because I think the technology is quite new for Web3, I think all my panelists today, they are expert. They may know some very deep tech, but for our daily user, the end users, maybe someone who just start to use cryptocurrency, is still, I think, some lessons to learn. So actually, we also work with MAS. We work with NTU to provide them some education class and license to train the regulators, to train the students in this field. And we also start to work with Hong Kong SFC. Then we also actually helped all these kind of investors and potential investors to make sure they understand the ecosystem. Because we actually worked for the security, worked for the blockchain security, so we would like to provide our know-how to the society, to working with all the ecosystem partner to make sure you will feel more secure and more safety when you're doing any activity or transactions on blockchain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So allow me to mention a little bit. So all of our panelists here, the companies that are affiliated to are the members of the Blockchain Security Alliance. And one of the mission of the Blockchain Security Alliance is public education. So that if you are interested, perhaps you should find out about it, and then we will be having public lecture series. Right. Okay.
Dr. Lo, can I just add something to what Wendy just said?
Yeah.
I think you have two questions, and the first one, that was a really tricky question. It's basically, the question is, how do we trust the auditor? Right. And I totally agree with what Wendy said, because I think we live in a world where increasingly more and more decisions are being made by machines, just piece by piece, right? We can talk about that, but that's a different, that requires a different panel altogether. But I think there are still certain points in this industry where we have to trust people. I think auditors, security auditing firms such as Wendy's Bilson is one of those guardrails. By the end of the day, from a technical standpoint, we can have some fancy Web3 thingy to decentralize it. By the end of the day, it is still about the people. Do you trust the reputation of the team, their professionalism? Are we aligned with the same interest? Is this someone you can look into the eye and say, we can trust each other and do something together? By the end of the day, it comes down to that. Which I think to some extent is also what Thomas just mentioned about a different level of trust we have to place with local government. It's the same question. How much do you want to trust the government? I think at some point, right, by the end of the day, we need to follow what governments allow us to do. In order for Web3, I think as Professor David Lee always says, without the guidance of the government, we just cannot, as an industry, to achieve mass adoption. And people can have a whole philosophical debate, how much you want to trust that, and different countries, et cetera, et cetera. But at a certain point, I don't think that's something that can be replaced by machine or by smart contract or by algorithm, for that matter. And this is one of those. Just want to add that.
Thank you very much, Herbert. So we are not trying to overthrow anything here, right? Yeah. But yes, but I would just like to learn from Thomas. If we want to talk about reputation, perhaps we can have a hybrid model. We can use a decentralized Oracle type of hybrid model. We can put up the reputation on a decentralized blockchain, perhaps. Then perhaps we can trust the auditor, but the auditors are audited by a decentralized blockchain. That's what I would think. Okay.
I think that's a really interesting notion that has been very popular I guess we all had lunch already, so I'm just gonna. But because this has been very popular in the gaming world in the last 20 years. Reputation, right? Everyone who has played World of Warcraft, you gotta have reputation to a certain level in order to get access to certain tribes and all that. We somehow don't have that in crypto, so there should be a penalty system in some way, right? If some people do bad things, there should be a severe reputational damage. But basically, there is a way. I think that a lot of people have talked about this, but somehow we haven't seen a sort of industry-wide, like an elegant solution that can, work with all the different ecosystem and all that. But I think that's something that's going to be really helpful.
Just try to chime in a little bit, 1 minute. Actually, there are quite a few Web3 bug bounty programs that are moving towards what Herbert mentioned, like a leaderboard for Web3 audits. Like they would disclose their vulnerabilities, and then they publish it in the platform, and then people will see that who is the leader of the Web3 audit space in that platform, and see that they can, technically you can engage with them and get more service there. That kind of thing is moving on that, but whether or not we can have everything on the decentralized world, I think it takes more time to adopt. Yeah.
And actually, our company, we are training the AI model. We would like to use technology itself, use a machine to do some part of the training, because the auditing, because now the AI is very powerful. We would like to use our know-how and experiences to train the AI. Then ask the AI to do some part of the job. Then besides that, we doubled, confirm, and double check from the human side to see whether it can be double secure. But actually, I think because technology is developed very fast, so we have to train and have to learn day by day. Because today is secure, maybe tomorrow there's new hacker, then we'll make it not secure enough. So I think it still needs some collaboration together.
Sorry, on this note, just 1 point, because it's really getting exciting here. And this is really fun, because when Herbert was talking about some form of credibility score, and then Thomas added on about leaderboard, and then we've got the AI aspect of things. If you bring it back to the real world, what we're seeing right now, a very close example of what's happening is actually friend.tech. Friend.tech actually is trying to do that, and it's in a particular race course of its own known as social-fi. That's why it's getting interesting. It's leaderboard for people like us. Right? What's our score like as an influencer, as a speaker, as something. Right? So it's getting there. And this is a very interesting aspect of our world today in Web3 that people should look at more. There's very little regulation around that right now. I think that's what we're going to discuss. But it's really interesting, because when you look at it, the AI element comes in for recommendation. The leaderboard comes in. How do you get scored? How do people rate you? It's coming in. And I think social-fi is going to be one of the hottest things in the next 3 to 5 years when people try to understand what this leaderboard means. Because it actually means your credit score. It actually means whether you can do business. We've not gone to entities yet, right? But maybe we'll get there. Right now, it's very individual. It's very consumer-based. But it all starts there. Just remember, when we come to Web3, when we come to crypto, the revolution is really driven by individual, right? It's different from other revolutions we've seen so far, which is institution-driven, right? So on that note, I think social-fi is going to be really interesting. Another topic for another panel.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Elle, on a related note, what do you think are the responsibilities of the companies, right? Who actually have so much of the data, because Web3 is going to generate a lot of data, right? So what do you think are the responsibilities of the companies, of the organizations, and how should we manage and handle the data for the good of the society?
I think maybe I'll just summarize my thought to that, because we had a chat earlier on. Essentially, I think the answer to that is there's no straightforward answer how to get this done from corporate level. But this is what we're here today, with Thomas, Wendy, and in the team here with Herbert as well to discuss this. I think the answer lies in the community to do that. And there's no straightforward answer how you can achieve the proper use of such data. Let me explain why, from my thought. So Sensen is a payments company, a data processing company as well. I'm essentially based out of Singapore. The way we differentiate ourselves from typical remittance and payments companies is the fact that we believe in a very near future, programmable money will be part of remittance and payments. Right? So that includes your likes of your CBDC, retail CBDC, as well as stable coins. Now, the very fact that we do with programmable money, we would be then dwelling into the part of smart contracts, right, which is what Biosyn really does well in auditing. The fact that we do that, a lot of data is going to be generated because of all these automated contracts. Very different from Web 2, where it's very human, where it's very centralized. A lot of data is going to reside online, whether it's on the blockchain, whether it's through a byprocess of interacting with smart contracts. They're all going to be there. Depending on the different types of sources of data you look at, the true CAGR growth of like the Web3 market and industry, which is $1 billion industry, is going to be somewhere between 39 to 44% between now to 2030. So it's a huge growth. And that also means that companies like ours that are interacting with smart contracts, blockchain, a lot of data is just going to be generated. It's going to implode. So coming back to the question, how are we going to make proper use of this data to benefit the society? First of all, I think to benefit the society, we need to use this data to the convenience of these users and stakeholders to let them get value out of the data. And in order to do that, I think the best way is to use such data in a transparent and ethical manner that respects the privacy law of different jurisdictions, whether in Singapore, in Europe, in Hong Kong, or places like that. So that would be my thought to that. And if we think about how to achieve that and what we are challenging, it's really human behavior and corporate behavior. Because it's hard to go against that, right? Let me give you an example, KYC. When we KYC or KYB a company, often we ask for proof of wealth, source of funds. Give me your bank statement, let me see how much money you have. You have $10 million in your company, everything, go naked for me. That's our current Web 2 model. But when you come to Web 3, is it really necessary? That's where ZKP comes into play, right? Zero knowledge doesn't require you to do that. You can validate certain stuff such as the wealth without going into the details of it, right? You can know it exists, sufficiently get a yes, no response, and then you can move on, right? So that's ethical and, on a need-to-know basis, use of the information that we as Web 2, Web 3 company can collate from a profile identity of anyone, even Dr. Loh, right? Whether she has money, whether it's crypto money, but we don't need to divulge all the information to other parties. I think that's an ethical use of this information and to the benefit of her and the company serving her. In order to get there at the end of the day, really is challenging the norms of human behavior, companies, culture. So I urge everybody to introduce best market practices to your company if you can. And if you are over here in the panel with us, we can try to do something together. That's my answer to you.
Thank you very much, Al.